Madam Chairman, Commissioner Sorensen, there were two things that I was uncertain when I read through the contract. Can you explain to me why there's a new calculation figuring sick days as to what it is now and what it was previous? It was on so many hours. Now it's on point something to figure.
It's basically the same. It's just figured.
And that, if you look at your contract, it's on page 15 for sick leave. Is that where you are, Representative McConkey?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I worked out on
So it's the same calculation, if I could?
Yes.
And secondly, if I could, Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Days, and I don't know if this is for you, Commissioner, or whether this is for Sandy, on days that can be taken for personal holidays or Christmas, Thanksgiving, are now off the list. Is that a problem for staffing or not a problem for staffing?
Personal days could never be taken on Christmas, on the major holidays. Through negotiations, we had hoped that we would have had other restrictions as far as personal days, and the restrictions that we came up with was on Easter, Mother's Day, and Father's Day. Everyone wants to be home, and some have it off and some don't, but the issue is that we wanted, we wanted to make sure that we can meet the needs of the residents on those days.
Thank you. So it's not an issue for you as far as staffing goes the way that should be now?
Not the way it's written out, no.
And could I ask one more thing?
Yeah.
I'm not a habit of having a birthday off. Is that pretty much a standard in your industry?
I do believe that there's a good percentage of the industry that does offer a birthday as a day off. And again, that's a flexible day.
I know my children have always felt that. Thank you.
Yes, Representative McCarthy and then Schmidt.
Yes, Madam Chair, would you please, for my benefit particularly, go over the meal, what you worked out with the Commissioner on meals?
If you look at, I remember last week we talked about meals, and we were saying the 1st of April, everybody would start paying for their meals, wouldn't get free meals. And if you look at page 27 in the contract for the nursing home, it says the county shall provide 1 meal per 8-hour shift at no cost to the employee. When I read that, my comment was I thought all employees were going to pay. The commissioner said based on the fact that the employee cannot leave the campus during lunch or meal, whatever meal they have, that's why they will get 1 meal per 8-hour shift. Representative McCarthy, yes.
Yes, Madam Chair. Is that particular paragraph in the previous contract as well?
Yes, it is.
It is? Yes.
Yep.
And so the nursing home will get 1 free meal per 8-hour shift, and you mentioned that the jail would get one.
The commissioner told me about the jail. We are not doing, we're not doing the jail now, but that was the reasoning behind why the jail also gets 1 meal per 8-hour shift. But that's not something that we are voting on right now, because they don't have a contract.
We don't have
Yes.
Can the bottom line then, if on April 1st we're going to go into this new mode where people are paying for their meals or not accepting them, one or the other, can the bottom line be decreased? Are there fewer meals going to be prepared relative to that, or what?
What's happened since we moved into the new nursing home, more people have been getting free meals from other departments, and we're cutting that off. Because of the price of food each month, Rob Harris says we're going in the hole maybe up to $3,000 a month on food because the food costs are going up, so everybody pays, except for the jail and the nursing home.
Well, then my question again, may I, can we reduce the bottom line? If we're going to be preparing fewer meals because the people from outside the nursing home are not going to be eating, we're going to prepare fewer meals, can we not reduce the bottom line?
Rob, can you say that?
Well, if I think, I mean, the answer.
Wait a minute,
look,
Representative Chandler, and then we'll go to
I would
Rob.
guess not, only because the problem is they're overexpending. They're gonna cut out the over expenditure and just keep it at the level they budgeted at. They hadn't included more money to pay, it's just now that they're running over, so I don't think you could cut any out, but they're just not gonna have that increase that they would have if they continue. So.
Is that it, Rob?
Yes, the result of the cafe being open and the fact that we have that available, is an attraction, so that we started receiving more business for free meals. And I noticed it right away after we had opened, so I tracked my costs closely. When I saw it starting to creep up, it was as a result of, still an increase in comp meals. So I went to the commissioners and asked them to step in and change the policy to bring it back to where it was and where I am budgeted for, which is that one free meal per shift per nursing home employee.
Yeah.
There were other county departments that were taking advantage of it.
Okay, yes, Representative McCarthy, follow up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Will the employees have the opportunity to go to the nursing home and eat and pay for the meal?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're really encouraging.
Yeah.
So we're buying.
So the revenue may go up, but we're, at this moment in time, we're just covering the loss at the moment. Representative Schmidt.
To the commissioners, is the value of the meals counted as imputed income to the employees?
Should be.
Not really.
Should be.
No,
I mean, it's a benefit for them.
I would suggest strongly that you run that past your accountant before we get into a big IRS issue.
Okay. Yes, Representative McCarthy.
Yes, and on what Representative Schmidt said, I believe that along with the free meal benefit, I would run through any uniform items that are not really uniforms, because according to the IRS, those uniforms, if they get reimbursed for uniforms that really aren't uniforms, like suits, they have to declare it on their tax forms as well.
Madam Chairman,
Yeah.
we've eliminated that also.
In that-
Anybody
in
that's
the-
in street clothes is not getting reimbursed.
Pardon me?
Anyone who is in street clothes is not getting reimbursed. Just those that, through union contract, are required to wear a uniform.
That include dry cleaning?
No, it's to purchase worn-out clothing. We're going to change it from uniform to clothing.
And I do know that in that contract that there is, as it was last year, there is a definition of what the uniforms are for the nursing home. That was in the contract, so you can see.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
one other item that's in there that's not a financial obligation, and that is this episode thing. Just recently, we had to terminate a real good worker because the contract reads that if they do not call in, if it's a no-show, they're terminated, okay? We're going to change that, and we've got a committee that's going to be looking at that. That would be acceptable to the commissioners and the union. We had to be fair about it. If it's good for one, it's good for everybody else. In this particular case, she was an excellent worker, did extra shifts, and we had to terminate her to be fair. But we're going to look at that and see if we can't correct it somehow.
Yes, and if you look on the contract on page 17, this is not a cost item, but they are doing a study committee to review the sick leave policy. And I think that was it, and there are episodes, and there are specific requirements of what you do if it's more than 8 episodes, the employee will be terminated. Yes, Representative McCarthy. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Yes. Representative McConkey and then Umberger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Could you just help me out with what the number is associated with providing one meal a day per shift? And what's that cost in the county?
I don't know, what is that, Bob, do you know?
I don't have my figures with me. I can figure it out quickly.
$3 a day times whatever you have, is that the number
How
we're
many
looking
meals?
at?
In the nursing-
Rob is looking at his calculator, so why don't we
Okay, if I could just,
go on, and we'll know the question after he's looking at the calculator, will give him lots of good ideas, because I know my calculator doesn't give me any answers, but Rob's does. Go
if
ahead.
I could follow up, I would suggest that $3 a meal, which includes coffee, juice, or milk, that is a tremendous benefit already for the employees. I suggest that anyone having one of those wonderful sandwiches we had last week at $2, again, is a wonderful benefit to our employees to have that availability. I've traveled with Representative Unberger on many occasions, and if time's going to be tight and she doesn't think she's going to be able to leave the building, she'll bring a bag lunch, which is the same thing my mom and dad did when they went to work and worked in hospitals. So I'd be interested to see what this number is. I believe we're pricing our food way under where it should be, and look forward to hearing Rob's number.
Okay, Representative Umberger and then Algren.
Yeah, my question was the comment about a person didn't call in to report that they weren't coming to work, and that we had to fire them because we said that. But, am I wrong?
Not because they said that. The policy is that if they call in, we have an opportunity to find somebody else to take that shift. But if they don't show up until the hour they're supposed to be there, we don't know whether we can get somebody else to fill that shift or not. Okay?
And you don't think it's part of personal responsibility and work ethic, that if you're not going to show up for work, that you don't call somebody and tell them you're not coming in?
Yeah, I agree. That's our policy.
I know, but you said you were looking at changing the policy.
They're going to look at it.
There's a committee that's going to look at changing the policy to something different. I don't know what it will be.
Well, I guess that my comment to that is,
Why would you change it?
why would you change it?
Why would you look at it?
You know, I mean, that is, you know, when, that's the contract that says this is my responsibility to notify you if I'm not going to come to work. And if you work there, you tend to understand why that's a problem if you don't show up. And so I am really concerned about changing the policy. You know, I mean, this is just, I mean, if, you know, if it was something else, maybe that would be fine, but I just find it abhorrent.
We'll take your comments under advisement.
Okay, and what we do is that we have a comment from Commissioner Solomon and then from Sandy, and we'll also go to Representative Algren and Fleck. So, go ahead, Commissioner.
And that was precisely why she was let go. However, if there are extenuating circumstances, if, for example, she didn't remember, she didn't know that she was even on that list, if, you know, there are any number of possible extenuating circumstances that could come into play here, and that we just want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, and that is our object here.
Sandy, do you have anything to add?
The study committee is being developed to look at the episode issue, and I think you know, you have so many sick episodes, spells of illness. An episode could be 1 day, it could be 10 days. And what the union and those negotiating for the administration, nursing home administration, we believe that there must be a better way. Because we really do need to have as many able and bodies working, and we've had a lot of sick calls, and a lot of that is to use up that time. That's not appropriate. There must be a better way of working our sick time, and we're going to work as a group to look at that policy and see what we can do to strengthen our workforce and decrease the number of times employees are calling out.
Okay, we have, thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Now we have Representative Algren and Fleck, and then Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate to the commissioners that there are IRS guidelines that have to do with giving meals to your employees and when it becomes a taxable wage and when it is a non-taxable benefit. And there also are rules for subsidized lunch programs. So you really need to, since it's come to light at this point, you really need to get into a discussion with your accountants to make sure that your contracts align with the IRS guidelines so that we indeed don't have a situation where we're going to be paying some back payroll tax in that situation. Also, number two, you know, providing themselves some flexibility for their personnel decisions. There are extenuating circumstances. For instance, if you get seriously injured in a car accident on your way to work and you're unconscious, it'd be pretty difficult for you to call in. So there are always extenuating circumstances. So if you have some sort of, if you've backed yourself into a corner on a policy, you probably need something to be reasonable. I can't imagine that they don't, but if that's the case, then I would strongly suggest they do. And so those are just my comments to the commissioners, that that is, you know, indeed something they should make sure they're in concert with, as far as what the contract says and what that, how that may need to align with the IRS statutes.
Okay, thank you, Representative Fleck, McCarthy, and then Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. When I first read this, I had no difficulty at all with the concept of a study committee. In fact, my first approach as I read this was that this is a good management tool. You're including both the management and the employees, and it's a good opportunity to discuss openly and review the process that's used and that is in place. That's a good management tool. If there are problems, this is an excellent opportunity to lay them out to the whole staff, so everybody knows, everybody can get on board and see what the problems or potential problems are. We don't have to look at what might happen, but the involvement of the employees is important, that they understand the problems, and you can both, in concert, resolve the issues. So I applaud both sides for putting together the study committee. I think it's a move in the right direction and a great management tool.
Thank you. Representative McCarthy and then Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I ask the supervisor, please? I'm assuming you work on a three 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day at the nursing home. Can you give me a breakdown on how many employees total are in each shift?
I can bring you back my sheet. You know, I can talk to you on nursing as far as aides are concerned, and what have you. But if to get all of the employees across the board, I'd have to bring that back to you. I have it on my desk.
I'd like to have that. I'd like to know how many free meals were given out per day, and it's based on how many people are working.
Well, it's based, but, you know, again, you know, we have a sense of what we're going to have for lunch. If I don't like egg salad, I'll bring my lunch. I mean, not all employees take that benefit. And we serve breakfast, lunch. How many meals do you serve? What do you plan?
The free meals are 100 meals per day on average, at a raw food cost of approximately $1.50. So the annualized cost is $54,750.
A year?
Correct, a year.
Does that include the jail at $800 a month?
No, we get reimbursed for the jail, so there's a transfer of meal, there's a credit to the nursing home and a charge to the Department of Corrections.
No. I was going to say we get back.
Okay. Are you Representative McCarthy, follow-up?
Yes, a follow-up. You said you were $3,000 a month short of your food costs?
For the first quarter.
First quarter.
For the first quarter.
Okay. But you're talking $50-some-odd-thousand worth of free meals just for the nursing home, not counting the jail. That's only, what, $36,000, so maybe we could reduce the number by 20-something thousand.
Yes,
I certainly wouldn't support a reduction in the economy that we're in right now. I mean, I'm struggling right now. Every day I'm making menu changes, you know, to keep within the budget that I have. However, you know, you get what you pay for, too. In the food service business, like any other, there's a tremendous amount of flexibility and the menu that is served is based on the cost that's budgeted.
Representative Schmidt and then Babson.
Yeah, I'd like to commend the commissioners on your study committee that you formed for the termination of this employee. I'd also like to say that most union contracts call for progressive discipline. That is, with the exception of theft or workplace violence. Typically, discipline should be imposed. I would suspect that if the union elected to go to arbitration with this or grieve it, you would lose. The cost of arbitration is tremendous. It would be a tremendous expense to the county that could easily run in the $6,000 to $10,000 range. For an arbitration hearing, you lose. You really ought to look at this. If your contracts don't call for progressive discipline, with the exception of things that you should lay out, like I say, theft, workplace violence, those type of things, then you're letting yourself wide open. So with that, I'll let it go.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Babson.
Two questions, Madam Chairman.
Yes, Representative.
All the time I've been here, I recall the price of the meal being given to us at either $3.15 or $3.50. I don't remember which of the two, but I know it was over $3. And Rob just mentioned $1.50 for the cost, so.
That was the raw price.
That's the raw cost, but we don't figure in.
Maybe what we do
Maybe that's
is,
just food, but we've always figured in the cost of the employees serving it, and that's what it's come out to.
Rob, have you got an answer to that?
Yes, the $3.15 figures what I charge the Department of Corrections, which does include the labor cost, food cost, and direct supplies, paper, chemical, etc. So we run about a 50% food cost of that $3.15 for the menu that I operate.
Okay,
So
Representative.
a portion of the labor for the nursing homes in the preparation process is charged to DOC.
Is charged to what, Rob?
To corrections. So they're
Labor,
being
food.
charged labor, food, and direct expenses
And direct expenses are given to the corrections.
at the exact number of meals that they're requesting based on their population for inmates and staff.
Go ahead.
Why wouldn't we use that same method of calculation for other free meals in the nursing home?
Because
We
it's
still
not,
have to
it's
compare
not a
them.
figure, what I figure it on is the labor expense that I have to operate the department, where I'm running 2 departments' food service out of 1 facility. The 100 meals per day for the nursing home free meals would not allow me to reduce labor to any degree that would make sense.
Last
Follow-up.
question. From the discussion in the commissioners' meetings and from what I've read in the paper, the cost of food at this facility has gone up drastically. Have we included enough for Rob in this coming year?
Have
Increase?
we included enough increase?
Yes.
Rob is
Yeah,
saying yes.
Because I mean, my system is computerized, so I make menu changes based on what I see the market. And we have a very competitive group purchasing organization. We just changed several months ago from Amerinet to UHF, which has a contract with a company called Integra. So we're getting nationwide pricing leverage on everything that we buy right now. So I can live within the budget, making the changes necessary to stay there.
Thank you. Yes, Representative McConkey and then Chandler.
Thank you. My calculator's a little off, so if I could, at the cost of a meal being at $3.15, a real number when it's costing us to prepare, put out the door, and I don't believe that's including the drink and so forth that's given with it. And the 100 meals a day, could I just have what that number is total for a year?
100 meals a day for the total
On
year?
the raw food cost, I'm figuring 54.
Excuse me if I could, at $3.15.
He wants to be able to calculate it at $3.15.
Okay.
Everybody's calculator can do that, except mine. Mine comes out wrong,
It's only a
so I
small
don't
one.
even try.
114,975.
So if I could follow up,
Yes.
so it's costing the county taxpayers $115,000. There might be some days it's a little less, some days a little more. I think that's a large number. When you figure, if I could, the number at the jail is equal to that or less, or
800 a day, I mean 800 a month at the jail.
My concern, Madam Chairman, is this going forward. We're in different cycles with our union contracts. So we approved that again for this, and then when the jail comes up again, it's just going to continue to repeat. I wonder if there might be the will to take that out at this point in time, or stop wasting the time of the delegation on that.
I think that one of the things that we have to do with the contract, it's an up or down. I don't think that we can go into changing portions of it. And you can, Commissioner Sorensen, do you agree?
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, everything that's being said, next time we do a contract, and the jail, probably they won't have one this year because they're in arbitration. But when it does come up, we'll take all these, what's been said, and work it out with the union.
Representative Conkey, are you?
Yeah, if I understand, would you feel, Commissioner Sorensen, that it's your understanding that would become an item that would be dropped out of future contracts, or are the commissioners of the opinion that meals need to remain in future contracts?
I don't know whether answering that question would end up being a unfair labor practice or not. I think that we can tell them that we have that concern, and they can say that they would consider it. I don't know unless you want to say something else.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Before I became commissioner, Representative Chandler, when Brenda Presby changed it for free meal or paid meal, I think you questioned it at the time, that you supported the free meal. Is that true?
Good Lord, I don't know. I can't imagine that.
Life changes over 20 years.
I can't remember what I have for breakfast, so I don't know.
Okay, Representative Chandler, and then
Thank
McCarthy,
you.
and then Fleck.
Thank you. All this conversation is good. The fact of the matter is, we're here to deal with the budget. There's nothing no action we can take. Those are union contracts, so there's nothing we can do about it.
We haven't approved it yet.
We don't.
Well, so that's okay too, but don't then if you don't want to. But the fact of the matter is, the budget-wise, so I would just suggest we move on.
Yeah.
All right.
Representative.
That's not a motion, it's just a suggestion.
Okay, Representative McCarthy, and then Fleck.
Yes,
Then
thank
we'll
you,
go
Madam
to the
Chair.
motion on the floor.
You know, at $3.15 a meal, we're talking right now, just for two entities, the nursing home and the jail, $150,000 a year.
15.
No, for the two.
For the two. Okay, go ahead.
$150,000 a meal. I mean, a year. At the present time, under the circumstances that exist now, where anybody can go over need, it's at least $200,000 a year coming out of the taxpayer's pocket for free meals. So I just wanted people to know that.
Representative Fleck.
Yeah, I would like to move on too. I echo Representative Chandler's comment, but before we do, we've thrown out some goals for the delegation to and the commissioners to strive toward. But I'm concerned that when we throw out the figure of $3.15, and Rob, and you may correct me, but I think that includes labor. Is that correct?
Correct.
So if we were to say, we'll cut out free meals, you would not be able to reduce staff. Is that correct?
It's correct if you were just talking about the nursing.
Right, that's correct. That's the budget we're dealing with right now. So, in effect, then, we do not save, for every meal we cut out, we do not save $3.15 for the nursing home, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor under dietary for Representative Chandler to approve $1,586,038 with a second by Representative Fleck. In between time, we've been looking at the contract. After we finish with the dietary, we can go to the contract if you want. All those in favor of approving the dietary at $1,586,083, say yes. Aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.